Have you ever heard of a method that can nearly double or even triple your harvest while requiring almost no effort in the garden? At first, it sounds incredible, almost like fantasy. But such stories happen to people right here in the US, and every year more gardeners are discovering this secret. And it's not about magic, miraculous soil, or a new fertilizer. The secret is surprisingly simple, yet incredibly powerful: deep organic mulching. Imagine this: a layer of straw, hay, or wood chips, several inches thick, covers your garden bed, and the soil beneath it starts changing on its own. You don't dig, till, or weed. Just watch your plants grow. At first, it seems strange and even a little frightening. Neighbors peek over the fence and whisper, "Why is she doing that?" Because the garden looks unusual. But after 1 or 2 seasons, a stunning effect appears. Plants are strong, yields are larger, and the work is much easier. The story of this method begins with Ruth Stout, a woman from Connecticut who, in the 1930s, grew tired of constant digging and hard physical labor. She decided to abandon traditional tilling and instead covered her beds with old hay that farmers wouldn't use for feed. At first, people laughed. "How can you grow potatoes in that pile of trash?" But Ruth proved them wrong. Within a few seasons, her yields were consistently high. Potatoes could be dug by hand, weeds were reduced, and watering was minimal. She wrote books and gave lectures, but the true value of her method wasn't in her words, it was in the results. Later, Paul Gauci from Washington State developed a similar technique using wood waste from arborists. His soil was heavy clay, almost barren. Paul simply covered it with a thick layer of wood chips and left it. Over the years, the soil transformed. It became loose, dark, full of worms and microbes. Water stopped pooling after rains, and plants began to grow like never before. People come to see his garden because the results seem unbelievable. The climate appears unsuitable for such trees and vegetables, yet they thrive and produce fruit. Mulching works on several levels. First, it conserves moisture by reducing evaporation. A layer of organic material holds water for days, giving roots access exactly when they need it. Scientists have noted that this can cut watering requirements by almost half, depending on the type of plants. Second, mulch regulates temperature. In summer, the soil beneath doesn't overheat, and in winter, roots are protected from frost. Studies show that even a thick layer of hay can reduce temperature fluctuations in soil by dozens of degrees, creating a stable growth environment. Third, and most importantly, soil biology. Under the mulch, microorganisms become active, organic matter decomposes, and nutrients are released, becoming available to plants. Worms and other soil creatures create channels that aerate the soil and retain moisture naturally, like a living tool, without mechanical damage. Gardeners note that just 1 season of deep mulching transforms the soil into a living system. It's no longer just dirt, but a full ecosystem nourishing every root. Many are wary of this method due to the old myth of nitrogen theft. Supposedly, wood materials rob plants of nitrogen. In practice, this is only true if wood chips are buried. When left on top, research shows that nitrogen is not lost, but gradually accumulates. Plants receive nutrients naturally, while the soil restores itself organically. Stories from gardeners and farmers repeat again and again. Those who try mulching notice healthier plants, fewer weeds, reduced watering, and larger, higher quality harvests. All this happens without bulky machinery, fertilizers, or endless manual labor. Truly, potatoes, tomatoes, corn, and greens all grow more calmly and steadily when the soil is covered. What makes this method truly powerful is that it challenges conventional ideas about gardening. We are used to digging, fertilizing, weeding, and constant physical labor. Mulch says something different: less intervention, more results. The logic is simple, yet it changes your mindset. The soil doesn't need us as much as we think. The right layer of organic material creates an environment where plants find their own resources. And this isn't theory. For decades, gardeners have reported that mulching saves effort, increases yields, reduces labor, and makes gardens more resilient. These results are backed by observation and experimentation. A thick layer of hay or wood chips literally transforms the soil and makes work easier. You begin to realize that this method is not just an alternative, it's revolutionary in its simplicity. Every detail matters: the layer's thickness, the type of organic material, and continual replenishment. Together they create living, self-sustaining soil where plants not only grow but feel protected, and the gardener enjoys both the process and the results. This method breaks stereotypes, which is why its discovery amazes people and arouses skepticism. But the effects are undeniable: bigger harvests, less work, and soil that comes alive. The moment gardeners begin laying a thick layer of mulch on their beds, something almost magical happens. It's not just a cover, it's a transformation of the soil that isn't immediately visible, yet the results are undeniable. At first, it seems like nothing is changing, but within a few weeks, roots start developing in the loose, moist environment as if finding a new life. Remarkably, even on old, depleted plots, plants begin to grow faster and stronger, and yields gradually increase without a single shovel or chemical fertilizer. The stories of Ruth Stout and Paul Gauci are not just examples, they are clear proof of the power of mulch. Ruth described how after several seasons working with hay, she was able to completely eliminate weeding, digging, and watering, and her potato and other crop yields grew so consistently that neighbors came by in disbelief. Paul Gauci demonstrated how clay soil, once considered infertile, transformed over years under a thick layer of wood chips into dark, loose, life-filled soil. People who saw his beds remarked that trees grew where climate conditions shouldn't allow them, and vegetables produced yields tens of % above average. Meanwhile, science confirms these observations. Deep organic mulch creates an ideal microclimate for plants. It retains moisture, reduces evaporation, stabilizes soil temperature, and protects roots from stress. Studies show that under a thick layer of mulch, the soil temperature can differ by dozens of degrees from the surrounding ground, which is especially important during heat or cold. Roots gain a stable environment that allows them to develop more intensively, and plants are less stressed. Equally important is the effect on soil biology. Under the mulch, microorganisms become active, breaking down organic matter and releasing nutrients. Fungi decompose complex fibers, bacteria help solubilize phosphorus and nitrogen, and earthworms create networks of tunnels that aerate and moisten the soil. This process fully replaces mechanical intervention. Tilling, digging, and fertilizer use become almost unnecessary. The soil begins to work for the plants, not the other way around. There is another effect that amazes gardeners. When the mulch layer is sufficiently thick, weeds hardly sprout. Those that do appear are easy to remove, and the roots of cultivated plants remain untouched. Gardeners note that the time once spent on weeding is reduced dramatically. In effect, the mulch takes on part of the gardener's work, making the growing process convenient and predictable. Remarkably, the method works even on difficult soils. Gardeners across the U.S. have noted that on clay, sandy, or depleted plots where yields were previously minimal, mulching produced stable results. After a couple of seasons, the soil turns into a fertile layer that retains moisture, is rich in organic matter, and full of life. Crops grow faster, plants are healthier, and gardeners achieve results with almost no physical effort. Experience shows that the proper choice of organic material and layer thickness are crucial. Hay, straw, or wood chips, each material has its own properties, but all provide nourishment for the soil. The layer is laid without compacting, allowing microorganisms to work, and the organic matter gradually decomposes, feeding the roots. Gardeners' observations confirm that with annual replenishment of the mulch, the soil becomes self-sustaining and able to maintain productivity without chemicals or extra labor. Another surprising aspect: plants under mulch grow not only stronger, but also more resilient. They are less prone to disease, withstand heat and drought better, and produce consistently large, juicy fruits while minimizing labor. This is an effect that isn't immediately visible, but is felt by anyone who tries the method even for one season. Even skeptics who were initially doubtful acknowledge that mulching works. Gardeners see with their own eyes how plants grow faster, soil remains loose and fertile, water no longer pools, and roots strengthen naturally. The method challenges conventional stereotypes. Hard work doesn't always yield better results. Sometimes nature knows best. Everyone who tries mulching discovers a simple truth: soil can feed plants on its own if the right conditions are created. A thick layer of organic matter retains moisture, protects roots, creates a microbiological environment, and reduces the gardener's labor. At first it seems illogical, but after a few seasons, the results speak for themselves. Yields increase, plants grow strong, and work decreases. The most powerful aspect of this method is that it changes the relationship with the garden and the earth. You stop being just a laborer who digs and waters. You become an observer who creates conditions for growth and development, while nature does the work for you. And when the harvest comes, you realize all previous effort, digging, fertilizers, and weeding were not so much necessary as habitual, and the true results arise where you allow the soil to care for itself.